So welcome, Pragito, and thank you. Thank you for being here. Welcome those of you who are watching and watching on replay. Please let us know where you're tuning in from. You can just put replay, and if you have any questions as we go through. So speaking of the heart, Pragito was one of played a very important role in my life personally, which is why I'm so excited to share her with you all on the summit, in helping me heal my own heart. And I'm forever grateful. So let's just take a moment and see what's on your heart to share first.
Well, yes. First of all, Helen, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. And thank you for so much for inviting me to be on the summit. And I'm particularly happy about this topic that you chose for me. Because yes, I remember we did a lot of healing for your heart. And as Helen's already mentioned, the heart has its own wisdom, separate from the mind. And the wisdom of the heart is something we really want to be aware of and connected to, because the mind can be a bit of a bossy bully and take us into all kinds of negative places with all kinds of negative thoughts. And we have to remember to come back to our hearts, because all the heart does is love. That's all it does. It loves unconditionally everybody and everything in our whole universe. And when we can bring ourselves back to that place of love, then our life takes on a much happier perspective, because love is always available to us through our own hearts. I mean, it's an inexhaustible source, actually. And the more we can love ourselves, then the love expands, and the more love we attract into our lives. Yeah. Because love is not a business. In business, we say, okay, you give me the money and I'll give you this product or whatever it is. But with love, it's almost the opposite. We have to fill ourselves up with love at first and share our love. And then, because we are transmitting love, we are at a very high point of the law of attraction, because love is the highest vibrational set point there is. And then we attract love back. And love comes in many forms, and it also comes in the form of money. Friends, clients, it comes in many forms. So yeah, love is a powerful ally.
I love that you mentioned that, because I tell people all the time, there's a direct correlation between self-love, particularly, and your bottom line, like how much money you have, all right?
Yes.
And keep and receiving. And I say you have a money problem, you have a receiving problem, right?
Yes.
You have a love problem, you have a receiving problem.
Yes.
Why is it? I know this is going a little off script, but this is what's dropping in right now. Like, why is it so hard for us to love ourselves? Like, why is it so hard to connect with the heart? And what are some of the things that you see around that?
We've been conditioned not to. That's why.
Yes.
Because as children, and this certainly happened to me, we were not allowed, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of us were not, and certainly me, we were not allowed to be our true selves. And so the love was withheld. So, for example, if I did what my parents wanted, they were very pleased with me and I got love. But if I didn't do what they wanted or disobeyed them in some way, the love was withheld. Yeah. And so what children learn is to become political. Oh, if I do this, I'll get love. And maybe I'll start lying about the things, which is what I did when I was a teenager. I thought, okay, this isn't working, I'm just going to lie, which was against my heart and against all my values,
Yeah.
but it was the only way I could halfway have some fun with my friends. Yeah. And so we become political, and that has grown all through our childhood, and then it goes into the unconscious as a habit, and we haven't really learned the truth about what love is, because love is unconditional.
Yeah.
True
and
love.
Most of us have never experienced that, right?
Never
experienced that.
I never did. And the other thing I learned was that you have to get love. You have to go out there and get love from somebody, which again is what I did, because that's what I thought, you know, go and get a boyfriend, go and get married, and that's how you get love. But actually it's the opposite. It's by giving love and sharing our love that love comes back to us. And the other thing, which I didn't know when I was small, which I now know, I can fill myself up with love. So I don't actually need other people, which doesn't mean I don't want to be with other people or be in relationships, but I don't need them.
Yes.
Because what happens with most relationships is you've got two needy people trying to get love from the other person. And of course that doesn't work, but they don't know why it doesn't work. So,
you know, that's a really valid point. And it's making me think of like what we see so much now, especially with the pandemic and, you know, lockdowns and stress, of course, but people are in spaces they normally wouldn't be for extended periods of time. And so it's bringing all this stuff to the surface, right? And it's interesting because what I see, it's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to shift how we've been taught to relate. The problem is, and one of the reasons why summits like this and hearing people like you speak is so important, is because people don't know how to do it differently.
No, they don't. Yeah, that's exactly right. Because they don't know what love is, because they've never experienced it. And one of the most powerful ways, as you know, I'm a meditation trainer. One of the most powerful ways to learn and understand and connect with love in your own heart is through meditation, because the path of love leads to meditation, and the path of meditation leads to love. And love and meditation are actually two sides of the same coin. They are inextricably intertwined. Because what is meditation? Meditation is awareness and being in the present moment. And love is always in the present moment.
I'm going to pause you there for a moment, because like, I find this to be true of every master, right? The profound truths fall out of your mouth, like by the minute. And they're just your day to day, right? But that is so true. And the presence, love is the present, and being present, being fully present. And to me, that's part of the invitation and the opportunity with the pandemic and the shifts and changes that it's caused us, kind of forced us into, right?
Yes.
Slow us way down. Make us more present with each other and with what we like and what we don't like and what we want and what we do. But whatever it is, it's an opportunity. I never saw it this way before. So thank you. So it is really an invitation
to be present with yourself.
And therefore to love.
Yes, because it's in a relationship, it's the easiest thing in the world to blame the other person. Well, he's this and he's that, and etc. And, you know, not to say the other person doesn't have their faults, but we have to start with ourselves. And when you learn to be with yourself, which is what meditation is, that you can be alone with yourself, then you get these awarenesses about yourself and the habits. And maybe you have a lot of anger come up, and you have emotional, and you have fear, and so on. Because I think the number one fear in the world is not public speaking. I think it's fear of love.
Interesting.
Because love makes us vulnerable. And the way we've been raised, if you think about it, it's been a patriarchal society for centuries. So we've all learned the masculine qualities of fighting and being defensive and being aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And people in a way have developed a kind of hardness.
Yes.
And love is the feminine qualities: vulnerability, receptivity, sensitivity. And that makes us feel vulnerable, which is very scary.
Yes.
Because we think we can be easily attacked that way.
Yes.
But the truth is, it's actually our strength.
Yes.
The feminine love and the way of the heart, the wisdom of the heart, is actually our strength, because we can stand our ground in our unconditional love for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the more we love ourselves, the more we can see other people more clearly and see that they are acting unconsciously.
Yes.
They are acting out of not love.
Yes.
Because they don't know any better.
Yes.
And
it's
when
interesting too, because even when you talk about present, like, being present and being able to see where somebody is, when we're triggered, we're not in the present. We are thrown back. We're either in the past or in the future. We're somewhere else. We're not really present. So we're not really seeing clearly in that moment what is actually occurring in that moment.
Yes.
So that's where so many misunderstandings can take place.
Yes. And we say things we don't mean that can be very cruel and so on. So what I always recommend to people is to take, if you're in a conflict with somebody, take 24 to 48 hours and just say to them, maybe we could talk on Tuesday. I just need to take a time out here. And then you do your meditations. And if you know about the expressive meditations I teach, you can dump out your anger, your rage, your frustration with this person or whatever it is, and reconnect with your heart, and your sense of humor comes back. And then you can look at them with more clarity. And then when you do talk to them again, you can come from a place of unconditional love and acceptance of yourself and acceptance of them as you both are. Yeah. And when you speak to a person from a place of love, they feel it. Yes. And they will calm down too. Yes. And they will...
Like, it goes straight from your heart to their heart, and it kind of bypasses the craziness of the mind in the moment. Yes. I know this to be true. I practice it. I've learned it, and it blows my mind every time, the magic and miracles that can happen. I wanted to just go back a little bit to the expressive meditations, because a lot of people don't, when they think of meditation, they think of the traditional silent seated meditation, right?
Yes.
And there are so many different ways to meditate. And one of my favorite that I learned from you was the gibberish meditation. And I love it because it's one of these expressive meditations where you can just like and get it out, and it looks crazy and it sounds crazy. The mind doesn't like it. Well, my mind didn't like it at first. And yet it is so, it just, when you get the energy moving and express it, then I can drop into the quiet, the silence, and then you access that magical wisdom that's there in that. Yes.
Great description of it. And this is how we can release all the inner emotional turmoil in the first stage. And then it's such a relief to get rid of all that stuff. And then, as you say, you drop very quickly down to your inner silence and find that clarity and the love, the humor comes back, and we can, now let's start over with this conversation we were having with this person or whatever's been going on.
Yes.
Yeah, so absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about what people will be, because I've charged each of our speakers to give people an experience. We have a lot of information, and I think information without application or integration or embodiment, can become a mind game, or there's another word I'd use for it, but I won't use it now. But let's just say it starts with F. Right? So it literally can become that, and then we don't really have the experience of it. So I've charged all of our speakers to literally give our audience an experience, right? So that by the end of the summit, by the end of the 4 hours, people will literally be refueled. They don't have to think about, well, let me go and absorb all of this information and then I'll be refueled. It's literally, we're going to be like, let's do it. There's no time like now. So tell us a little bit, just a sneak peek of what you're going to be allowing them to experience on Friday.
Well, I'm definitely going to take everybody through a guided meditation to take you deep into your heart, into the present moment, and experience what we've just been talking about here, because love is an experience. It's not a thought. Yeah. Yes. And love has to be experienced, as most people have experienced love at some point or another. But you can go very deeply into love, and it's the same as going very deeply into meditation. And then you have that whole body experience of it. And once you've had it at that depth, as I'm also a hypnotherapist, I can take people very deep. Yeah. And then the body remembers it. Yeah. The heart remembers it. And that helps you to remember it, because the mind isn't needed. The mind knows nothing about love. It thinks it does, and it's always up for making comments about our relationships. But actually, the mind knows nothing about love at all. That's the domain of the heart. Yeah. And so that's where we'll be going to experience that love in the heart. And I will be talking in the time allowed about the 4 main keys to love, the first one of which is be here now. Yeah. Because that's where love is. It's in the now. Yeah. It's not in the future. Yeah. And this is where so many marriages run into trouble, because people sign a legal document saying, I'll love you forever. But that's actually not something we can really promise, because love is not actually in our control. I mean, we can think we're going to love someone forever or be in love with them. But, it could be a few years later, we fall in love with somebody else. And then the trouble starts because we made this promise on this legal document. So it's making love into a legal document where so much trouble is created for couples. Yeah,
yeah. I find too that a lot of what we talk about at Sovereign Minds it's about the integration of the head and the heart. And so often when we're going through this with clients, sometimes it's fascinating that the head doesn't trust the heart, right?
Oh, it doesn't. No.
and in some people, the heart doesn't trust the head, right? So it's interesting, and to get them to connect and integrate and function together, it's almost like the microcosm of what we want to accomplish on a global level.
Oh,
right?
It is.
Right?
Absolutely. It's the inner conflict.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, as we resolve that inner conflict, then, I always say what we experience externally is just a mirror of what we...
It's a reflection,
reflection of what's happening inside. So I'm excited for the opportunity for people to experience this, right?
Yeah.
Because and the mind will tell you, people, so if you're watching this, let me just tell you, your mind will tell you, I know all about that. Right? And I can tell you that every time I go deeper, it's like our heart is this vast and infinite well of possibility and experience. Oh, I get goosebumps as I'm saying this. That is so every time it doesn't matter how many times you've explored it. It doesn't matter how many times you've experienced this. Come experience it anew, Experience it anew now, because every moment is now, and every now is different than the now before. So with new possibilities.
Exactly. And each time you go deeper and become more deeply rooted in yourself and more deeply rooted in love.
Yes.
And the other thing that I always share with people is to remember that the heart is the master, and the mind is the servant of the heart.
Yes.
That's the natural way of things that it should be.
But that's not how we're taught at all.
No, it's not how we are taught. But, you know, the cool thing is the mind knows this. The mind knows its rightful place. And so as often as you keep showing up to be present, the mind's going to get it and start backing off. Yeah. So all you have to do is show up and be present with yourself, and the mind will still function. Of course, we need the mind, but it'll stop backing off and won't be so loud.
Well, like I said, I'm so excited. I know you have your regular Wednesday meditations in your group, on your Facebook group page, and as many times, every time I usually I catch them on a replay, but every time it is literally, you have so embodied your craft and your skill set and your mastery that you could almost like read the dictionary, like it's not that you do, but you could, and we receive that entrainment. There's an entrainment that happens. That is my experience of it. I can't speak for other people. That happens just listening to your meditation and going through it with you, and whether it's in the moment or in the replay or whatever it may be. So I just want to thank you. You're always showing up to powerfully serve, and you do. We feel your powerful heart energy, and it's going to be such an amazing contribution to this morphic field that we're creating.